more cards have been revealed for the mini set, and even more dual class pairings, which this is super cool. And I love that they are doing some pairings that actually cross over. So some classes are pairing with two other classes instead of just one, now that there is an odd number of classes. That's pretty cool to me. There's a little bit more crossover, and it's kind of almost like a sweet spot between dual class and tri-class in a way, because of that kind of crossover. So really, really kind of cool and interesting. So let's take a look at these cards. The first ones we're going to talk about are Hunter cards. The first one here, Hollow Hound, a 6 mana 3/6 undead and beast with lifesteal and rush. And it also damages minions next to whomever this attacks. So this one is actually a Hunter and a Death Knight card. Pretty interesting, having lifesteal and rush. You're going to get some sort of, value because it can impact the board immediately. It is pretty costly because of that added effect and those keywords. So the stats are pretty low for spending 6 mana, but this still seems pretty great. And honestly, the fact that it's an undead can work for Death Knight really well. It's a beast, so that can work with Hunter. Not really sure how much this one will see play or not. This is a really interesting one, but I think because the cost is kind of high, it might not be played a ton. But there's also no rune requirement for it since it has the Hunter ability, so Death Knights, any variation of a rune type deck can play this for Death Knight. Pretty neat. I'm kind of interested in this one. The next one is Yelling Yodeler. It's a 4 mana 3/4 undead. Battlecry, trigger a friendly minion's death rattle twice. And this one is also a Hunter and Death Knight card. Okay, 4 mana. It's kind of like a tech card in a way, because you're really not going to play it in like every deck, right? You want the death rattle effect. So it's kind of like a tech card, support card in that kind of range. And I feel like those cards are often landing in the 4 and 5 mana slot, maybe up to 6, but that's pushing it. So 4 seems pretty good. It's kind of defensively statted. That's fine. It's an undead. Pretty interesting. Hunter, more specifically, I think really would have liked to use this in like the previous year of Hearthstone with a lot of those big beasts, but maybe there's something coming later that this can really work with. Right now, I think it's kind of limited in what Hunter can use, but this might be a little bit more flexible in Death Knight. And then the third card that we have here is Hidden Meaning. This is a Hunter only. It is a secret, and so of course it's 2 mana. Secret, when your opponent ends their turn with no mana, summon a random 3-cost minion. This one is really kind of cool. This kind of punishes for using all of your mana, and especially if this is used early, this is either very likely to go off, or there are a lot of cases I feel like now where some decks just end up like hero powering on their turn 3 and then hover a mana. So that's kind of awkward, but there is that payoff of getting an extra minion if your opponent spends all of their mana. It would be really interesting. I don't know how well it would actually work, but if you were to use this in the same deck as the legendary ETC that just came out as well, to kind of make sure that your opponent is using their mana every turn, that could be like a really interesting kind of combo. I don't really think it's going to work or pay off, but that could be something. Now we're going to take a look at the 3 cards here that the wonderful Ben Hearthstone or Ben Hearthstone on Twitter got to reveal. So the first one here is a Death Knight card. It is 2 different runes, 1 Frost, 1 Unholy, and it's 2 mana called Dead Air. Destroy your undead, resummon them. I am not the biggest believer in like rainbow DKs. Maybe as we get more cards and more support, some of these lists will work, but I really just don't think that a lot of these are very good for standard right now. So unfortunately, I don't think that this one is going to work super well. Plus, I think the best place that you'd want to use this would be in a triple rune either Frost or Unholy, honestly, because they both actually run a lot of Unholy stuff. Ben does also note that same thing as well. You can't run them in triple Frost or triple Unholy. So pretty weird right now, but cool concept. The next one is Cold Feet, and this one is Death Knight and Paladin. We saw some Death Knight Hunter, and now we're seeing Death Knight Paladin. Cold Feet is a 2-mana frost spell. Enemy minions cost 5 more next turn. Wow. That is a very powerful effect. And honestly, the fact that it can be played in 2 different classes, very, very strong. And this, because it's 2 mana, can get discovered off of the Noggling from School Teacher, which I think is actually pretty impactful that 2 different classes can discover this because it is that dual class card. So, wow. Very, very interesting. Again, because this is a dual class, that Death Knight card means there's no rune requirement either, so all Death Knight decks can run this. And then the next one, we have Cool Ghoul, another Death Knight and Paladin card. It's a 4-mana, 3-attack, 1 health undead with Divine Shield and Reborn. Okay, makes sense because, Reborn kind of works with the undead. It's got the Divine Shield, so works with Paladin stuff. 4 mana for that, though, does seem a little pricey. I'm not really sure if decks want to play this right now, but this is super cool. And this is, kind of a bring back of art. This looks like Happy Ghoul, but now he's Cool Ghoul, and he's, rocking out to disco. So that seems super cool. I love that kind of art and bringing these characters back. In terms of its use in competitive standard decks, I really am not sure right now. Maybe you could play it if you're doing Divine Shield stuff. Maybe you want to run it in some sort of Paladin style deck that works with Menagerie. I'm stretching at this point, but okay. There it is. And then we had the wonderful Rain put out an article from Esports GG with 3 more card reveals. So we have Dance Floor. It's a 2-mana Paladin location and has 2 uses. Give your minions Rush. All of your minions. Wow. That seems pretty powerful. For only 2 mana, you give everything that you have played Rush. 2 uses. This seems really strong, especially with Paladin having a lot of Divine Shield minions, being able to give them Rush. I mean, honestly, I feel like there has been a lot of cases where even the Liadrin that gives minions with less attack, the Rush and Divine Shield is super strong. So having this on the board and being able to give whatever you play Rush seems great. You maybe can use this in the later part of the game on 1 or 2 large minions, but still, being able to essentially give any minions that you want that Rush keyword seems really powerful. Then we have Horn of the Windlord. This is a Paladin and Shaman card. So very interesting. Now we've seen Death Knight Paladin, and now we're seeing Paladin Shaman. So this is a 6-mana weapon, 3 attack, 4 durability, and has Wind Fury. And then says, whenever your hero attacks a minion, set its stats to 3/3. Wow. Okay, so you can take out some really strong minions with this. It has Wind Fury. That seems pretty great. There is also some, draw. I actually mentioned that in, I believe, yesterday's video, talking about the fact that there is some neutral weapon tutor with instrument tech. You can put that in, be able to draw this weapon specifically, and that's neutral, so you could play it in both Paladin or Shaman if you really want this. Some of this attack could just go face, but you'll have that option to set this as a 3/3. Now, this being able to just set your opponent's minions to 3/3 when it attacks, and then kill them without having that location that also sets something to 3/3 seems pretty neat. It is kind of costly for the weapon, but it has a pretty strong effect. And then the last one is Jukebox Totem. I love this artwork and this theme of this. This is just fantastic. It is a 2-mana Paladin and Shaman. minion. It has 0 attack, 4 health, and it is both a mech and a totem. Says at the end of your turn, summon a 1/1 Silverhand Recruit. Kind of interesting to be able to play a totem in Shaman and get a Silverhand Recruit out of it, but you'll be able to do that. And this has dual type with a lot of the Paladin stuff. There's a lot of mechs and stuff in Paladin, right? So you can magnetize onto this. There's a lot of synergies with the totem in Shaman. Seems really cool. I like this one a lot. But what do you think of these cards? Let me know in the comments below. And if you didn't check out that video that I already mentioned, you can go ahead and click here to check that one out next. Thank you so much for checking this out, and I'll see you in the next one.